Yeah. I'm cruising into Christmas. I don't know about you. Little disco on the Savage Nation. Sliding across the dance floor of ideas. They used to say that the conservative movement in America was based on the three G's: God, guns, and gays. I don't know if it's still true. I think we should change that to what's current because I don't think anyone on the conservative side is that obsessed with gays anymore. So I would say it's God, gays, and sex toys. Why are all of these high powered guys in the media sex obsessed? And behind all of that nice liberal front, what's lurking? Behind that nice guy, Matt Lauer, what's the other one whose name I forget? I don't know. Honest to God, I'm not trying to be sarcastic. Charlie Rose, the deacon of liberalism, gone with the wind. Behind that persona of Mr. Rogers, look what was behind it. These are the gatekeepers who wouldn't let me on the show ever. Remember, I am an icon in the American media, and don't ever forget it. I don't care what you think, what you don't think. I've been on the radio almost 25 years, okay, whatever the number of years is. And so over these years, that's almost a quarter of a century, all of these guys have listened to me. Oh, yeah, I heard of him in their cars, their limos. Yeah, I heard of him, right. But he's not good enough for my show. Well, as Lin Yu Tang wrote in The Importance of Living, one of the great books in my life, happiness consists in getting your hair cut every 2 weeks and seeing your neighbor fall off the roof. Now, what he meant by that is seeing Matt Lauer fall off the roof, seeing Charlie Rose fall off the roof. We don't know what comes tomorrow. I could be the one that falls off the roof tomorrow. We don't know, but right now I'm enjoying it. I'm gloating. Even though I said yesterday, don't gloat today because I have a hangover, I'm going to gloat. Not a heavy hangover. I had 2 drinks. I shouldn't have had even 2. Middle of the week, I can't. But I'm cruising to Christmas. You know what I'm saying? I already feel jingle bells in my feet. I just feel it, the snow up in the Sierra. People are skiing already. I see Florida. I see the High Sierra. I just see it all. What am I doing here killing myself? What a long year this has been. My God. 2017 of November, the 30th? Do you realize what we have been through together this year, in this year? The president was inaugurated. Let's start with that. I wrote and published Trump's War. Let's not forget that. And yes, it became number one without Charlie Rose, without the Today Show, without Oprah, without Popra, without Hopra, without anyone. You made it number one. So we got the president inaugurated. The book became number one. Then I killed myself getting God, Faith, and Reason together. That's been out now a week and a half, 2 weeks. I don't know how long already. It's all a blur. Daily Show, normal strife, fighting the whole, the vicissitudes of existence every day. Like a turtle, we have to drag our bodies through it all. Every day we have to resist the Matt Lauer within us. You know who wrote about Matt Lauer, actually? It was George Orwell, one of my favorite authors, who wrote many, many decades ago, that within every man, there is a man who wants to do good and do great things, and another man who wants to swill endless amounts of beer and cheat on his wife. And he said that's the eternal struggle in every man. George Orwell wrote that. And sometimes the bad part gets control of the good part. And the next thing you know is your neighbor's falling off the roof. What does a guy like Lauer do after this? He opens what? Lauer's Clam Shack in Boca Raton? Lauer's Lair on Federal Highway? What does he do now? Can he ever be rehabilitated? I don't know. What does he teach journalism in Alabama after this? He teaches a course in journalism in Roy Moore's district. God, that would be unbelievable. What does a guy like Charlie Rose do after the fall? After the fall, what does he do? Honestly. As I said to you yesterday, he goes in the same restaurants in Manhattan and that table he always had waiting for him gone. I'm sorry, Mr. Rose. Oh, what is your name again? They actually insult him so gravely. The maitre d' that he's used to doesn't even greet him anymore. They send out a girl from NYU who doesn't even know who he is. And he says, I'm here. This is Charlie Rose. And she says, what's your name again? And he grimaces, Rose, R-O-S-E. Did you say R-O-Z? Rose? No, Charlie Rose. Where is Bill? I'm sorry, Bill is not in today. Well, sir, we don't have a table for you right now. Could you please wait about 15 or 20 minutes in the vestibule? We can send a cocktail waitress. So that's the first fall. Did you ever see that movie years ago with Jim Woods? One of my favorite movies called The Boost. That guy's a great actor, James Woods, and one of his great movies was called The Boost. Raise your hand if you know what I'm talking about. L.A., 60s, 70s, New York real estate guy, just married, lovely wife. I forget her name. She was a great actress. I don't know where she is today. He gets a job from his real estate. The guy who owns the company sends him out to L.A. to run the company out there during the boom of the real estate boom at that time. And slowly but surely gets sucked into the cocaine world to get that boost. And as the story emerges, they get hooked on coke and they lose one thing after the other. The tables are no longer waiting. They wind up in a CDSRO in Los Angeles. It's an astounding movie about the fall from grace. And so it happens in every generation, up and down. I'm just rambling. That's what's called a rap. I imagine you're driving in a taxi. You're taking people around. You're sitting at home. You're listening to the show. I got stuff I don't want to get to it yet. Like, is Kellyanne Conway qualified to be the opioid czar? I mean, so stupid. I never heard of anything like this. What is her background in drug treatment? I'd like to know. Or in science? I'd like to know. I don't know. Why is she now the opioid czar? They made her the opioid czar. They're saying there is no opioid czar. But she was made the opioid czar by the president. There's a solution to the opioid crisis. There's a couple of them. You want to hear one? I can save America a lot of money and a lot of the PR you're going to put out, Kellyanne. Let me make it real simple. The company that produces OxyContin is called Purdue Pharma LP. It's owned principally by descendants of Mortimer and Raymond Sackler, Kellyanne. And in 07, Kellyanne, you may not have studied this in 07. I don't know what you were doing then. This pharmaceutical company paid out one of the largest fines levied against the pharmaceutical firm for mislabeling its product, OxyContin. And Kellyanne, you should know that you can simply solve the opioid crisis on one leg. Let's say there's 3 legs to the crisis. Stand up to the Sackler family. But Kellyanne, they're earning $35 billion a year. I don't think that this Trump administration, or any other administration for that matter, has the power or the guts to stand up to a $35 billion privately held company. Do you? So I don't think we're going to see a solution to the opioid crisis at all, by the way. It's a topic, but you really want to talk about that? Should the makers of OxyContin be forced to, do something? What are they going to do? They own Congress, I think. Why are there so many sex-crazed media and political figures? Well, there's an answer to that as well. And there is an answer to that. The media is an industry that produces a lot of testosterone in males. You get so high on what you're doing, you got to drive your testosterone so hard. I mean, ask, what's his name? Geraldo Mustachio. He even said it, what he did back in the 60s and 70s, what was going on in newsrooms at that time. It drives testosterone. In case you don't know it, a lot of sex used to go on in this industry before I joined it, of course. I killed the sex in the and it's an industry that drives testosterone in males, by the way. And so a lot of it is displaced in an unhealthy manner. That's number one. But what I want to know is, why does a guy like Matt Lauer or these guys, what is this with stripping naked and showing their bodies? They're not well known for their bodies. Do you think Matt Lauer's a hot guy? And let's say he was for a minute. What is this about showing your body? A girl's supposed to fall on her knees and beg you for sex because you're naked? That's very romantic, Matt. You're really a genius. I mean, you go back to Harvey Weinstein, another one, out of the shower naked. Everybody wanted to make it with a fat old Jewish guy, right? Like Harvey Weinstein. What was he thinking? They never heard of flowers and dinner? Popping out of the shower naked? Flowers and dinner went out. All of a sudden, crazy system that we have here. Okay, you're not going to stop human nature. That's all I can say to you. I got to tell you, there's a genius in the home studio. I was way ahead of my time. No wonder I fought for the home studio way back 20 years ago. I fought for it like crazy. I didn't know it was coming. But how can you have workplace harassment if you're alone in a room and there's no no one around you? It's me and the dog. There's nothing, me and the dog and a microphone. I think that may be the future of media. They'll have to give everyone in television a home studio. Not only in radio, but in television. They'll have to build guys like Matt Lauer, like a funny farm studio at home where he can't even leave. They build him a huge set and there's no one around him. Like the assistants are remote. They're on a Skype screen. That's the future of TV and radio. Do you understand why I'm laughing? Because I saw my neighbor fall off the roof. That snotty bum. Those two snotty bums on the left. They thought they owned the media. They thought they could keep me down. Thought they could keep me out. Well, look where they are now. They're in the gutter, and I'm still flying high. Now, tomorrow, I understand the way the world turns. I could be next. They could make it up. Even look at this guy in Congress. I forgot his name already. Conyers. How many years did I call him John Conyers? I had the nerve to call him John Conyer. C-O-N-yer. Because I knew he was a con man. I could see, the quieter they are and the more they play like dignified, the bigger the schmendrick they are underneath it. John Conyer, he was a con man from the get-go with that quiet delivery. Are you kidding me? Are you joking? You think I didn't read it on this guy? The quieter they are, the bigger the, whatever they are. I like outspoken men like Trump. Because, if a guy is outspoken like that, usually you see what you get and you get what you see. It's those quiet ones that you got to watch out for. Right, Dad? So these are some of the topics. Look at this, how I blew through the opening. I was just warming myself up. And it's 18 minutes after the hour. How is this even possible? I was going to play something, but I don't have to. So the minute I come back, I'm going to play something I was going to play to avoid having to do the monologue I just did. So you better be here because otherwise Santa's not going to give you a present. Back in a minute. The horn section from the Deuce. I miss New York when it was dirty. I don't like New York. It's clean. It's like Disneyland now. I don't even go there. It's so clean. Boring. I don't even want to leave San Francisco because the same thing in New York. There's nothing waiting for me there. But all right, whatever. I miss snow in the winter in Manhattan. That's the one thing I miss. Those magical days that it snows in Manhattan in the winter. Skiing down Fifth Avenue. I never did that. I drove a Morgan Plus 4 through Central Park in the snow and hit the brakes so it would spin through the curves. That was a magical moment. But other than that, why is there so much deviancy in the media is the question. Why are there so many sex-crazed media and political figures? And someone wrote this on my Twitter feed. Ray Hager opines that it's old men afraid of natural aging coupled with male enhancement industry, out-of-control sexual behavior plus out-of-control profits, deviant behavior amplified legally. Guys, can I tell you something? There is a reason your sex drive leaves you as you get older. It's because you're not supposed to be a sex maniac at 80, 70. You're supposed to calm down. So you keep taking Viagra, Levitra, the other one, I don't know the other one. What's the other one? Whatever, OxyContin. No, that's for something else. What's the sex enhancement? Gallus? Gallo? No, Gallus. Egalis. Why don't we make a new product called Egalis? It has the word gal in it. Anyway, the point is that these sex enhancement drugs, what do you think it does to a person's mind? It drives them crazy. Okay, so old men afraid of natural aging, yes. The hair dying, the dyeing of the hair, the hair plugs. I don't need a hair. I'm not going to get a hair plug. What do you need hair for? You can be very potent without hair. I think that men have it all wrong about what women like anyway, by the way. But anyway, that's a separate topic. I'm saying, why is there so much of this all of a sudden? That's number 3. Is Kellyanne Conway qualified to be the opioid czar? No. Absolutely. She's a pollster. God bless her. Why is Attorney General Jeff Sessions saying she will oversee White House efforts to combat the opioid? How is she going to combat the opioid overdose epidemic? They're going to give her $12 million to do PR on it? More than 64,000 people died in the U.S. of drug overdoses in 2016, largely from opioids such as H, fentanyl and prescription painkillers. Okay, so Trump declares a national public health emergency over the crisis in October, which he should. He campaigned in New Hampshire, remember? Well, what has he done? So everyone's saying they need an opioid czar. What do you need a czar for? You don't need a czar. Just bring in the people who sell the opioids, put them in prison. Let me put it to you this way. Let's do common math together. Are you listening to me? Common sense. I'm not the opioid czar, but I can add. Let's say there are calls for, I'm going to make up a number, 100 million prescriptions for OxyContin, 100 million a year. It's probably much higher. Legitimate. Doctors who say we need this painkiller and we need 100 million pills made a year. And they're making 1 billion pills. So where did the other 900 million pills go? Duh. There's the opioid czar. I just saved the government $12 million and a lot of waste of time. What are you kidding me? Stop the production of the pills. Ask the owners of the company why they're making 9 times the amount of pills, if that's the number, than the prescriptions call for. What, are you joking? New York City ratings in Savage, #1 in talk radio on flagship WABC 2554. Again, thank you. Yes, I did dare tell you that my New York City ratings are in, and on Savage's #1 in talk radio on the flagship WABC 25 to 54 audience. Again, thank you. Yes, thank you. No TV show, no co-promotion, all you. I don't know. How do you know? I'm answering myself. My mother used to say to me, it doesn't matter if you talk to yourself, because if I would walk around in New York, there were a lot of crazy people even when I was a kid. You think it started today? And you see people, oh, oh. So I get scared as a kid. I say, oh, don't worry. It's okay to talk to yourself as long as you don't answer. They're answering themselves. They're crazy. Most people talk to themselves. You say, what should I do? I don't know what to do. Should I do this? Should I do that? That's talking to yourself. You get mixed up. And then you're lucky. You get talk radio and you talk to millions of people and you think you're sane. And the next thing you know, Matt Lauer's pulling out a sex toy. And you can't believe it because he was such a nice guy. Such a good liberal. He was in favor of global warming theories. LGBT, SSBB, LLM, LLQQQ, whatever the latest acronym was added to it, he was in favor of it. He was in favor of everything good that the college people liked. Christmas trees, Rockefeller Center, every party in Manhattan was his. And here he is, invisible. So what's the moral of the story? I don't have one. I'm not God. I don't have a moral of the story. Other than they're all full of you-know-what. They're all phonies, those libs. All right, it's true there's a conservative did a strip job, too. This jerk in the South. What was a naked picture, another one? What's with ugly men sending naked pictures of themselves? Can anyone explain that to me? Is that supposed to be hot? An old naked white guy sending a picture of himself to someone? What is this? I never heard of anything like these guys are really crazy. Who was this Southern guy that just resigned over a nude picture? I never heard of it. I got to say something to you. I told this to you yesterday. I'm going to tell it to you again. I'm not naive. I had friends who were pretty crazy and wild. I also grew up in another time, a Neanderthal time for men. I never knew anyone who did something like this. Never. I know wild guys, but nobody ever did things like no one came out of a closet naked in front of a girl. No one sent a sex toy like Lauer did it with a note saying, here's how you should use it. I never heard of it. You know how stupid that is? It's sick and stupid. It's like the guy was going to be governor who used a credit card to buy a hooker. I mean, what was his name? I forget his name already, that goofball. I bet you don't remember his name. Look him up quickly. He was just in the news again. A couple of years ago, he was going to be governor of New York. They found his credit card. He used the credit card to buy a prostitute. Can you believe this? What was his name? Come on. You got two of you in the studio there. Get his name for me. Whatever his name was. Who uses a credit card like that unless they're stupid? Who sends a sex toy to someone at work with a note that says, I'd like to do this and that? Crazy. Spitzer. Where is he today? He was almost governor. Gone with the wind. One mistake. Well, you know something. There is something religious in this. There is a religious moral in this for all of us. The Jewish Torah, the Jewish writings of the fathers say that a man could spend his entire life building up his reputation, and with one mistake, it can all be destroyed. What does that tell you to do? Walk on eggshells the rest of your life? And just keep yourself together right to the end. You hear what I'm saying? Look, I mean, these are examples right out of the Bible. Now, I have a very unique something to offer you today, those of you out there in Radioville. I know that you're very quick to turn the dial. You're the most fickle audience on the planet. We got to work every second to make sure you don't flip. We want to make sure you don't flip. That's the race. Like every second you're thinking, what are they thinking? What are they thinking? What should I do? So if you're dumb, you do Uranium One for 3 straight months. Uranium One, lock her up, Hillary, lock her up, Uranium One, Uranium One, Uranium One, Uranium One, Uranium One. Uranium One, if you have no imagination. Uranium One, lock her up, lock her up, lock her up. But if you have a scintilla of something between your ears, you can't do that every day. So as you know, my new book, God, Faith, and Reason, came out. Without any help from the media except the Drudge Report, it became number 11, which, by the way, for a book on God, it's a miracle, incidentally. And I was running up against huge liberal books. And sales in week 2 are holding up. I don't know what's going to happen during the holiday season. It could actually come out of nowhere like a long-shot dark horse and start moving again. So I did an interview with Larry King. You say, well, why he's a liberal? Because he's an old-style liberal who I like. He's like a family member who I disagree with, who we actually like each other. You know what I'm saying? I never met the man in person, but we're planning on bagels together sometime in the near future in Beverly Hills. I understand he owns a bagel shop. So I go on his show last week. You got to hear it for one reason. Listen to how he tries to set me up in clip 3. Listen on the Savage Nation, please.
I'm now joined by friend Michael Savage, the outspoken conservative, award-winning host of the nationally syndicated radio program, The Savage Nation. Usually we hear from him regarding his conservative and sometimes controversial opinions, but his latest book is entitled God, Faith, and Reason. There you see it. Ventures into a different territory, his religious beliefs. The book is out now and available, including for download, and Michael Savage joins me via Skype. Before we talk about this extraordinary book and much to discuss about it, Michael, how could you, a longtime conservative, a devout person, a man of high moral values, how could you support Roy Moore?
I'm not answering the question because I don't live in Alabama. I'd leave it to them.
Well,
I'll answer. No,
if you lived there, would you vote for him?
I will answer the question generically. I thought we lived in a land of laws, and I believe whoever is accused has a right to a day in court, and that applies to Al Franken. That applies to Conyers. I've said this for weeks. This is a witch hunt. It could hit you. It could hit me. What, we're living now in the French Revolution where someone says, I accuse you and your life is ruined. If we don't stop this, everyone will be destroyed by it. Hey, maybe there's a lot of guilt there. Maybe there isn't. But we need a trial, not a public hanging. That applies to Moore, Franken, Conyers. Even Nancy Pelosi agreed with that position the other day, which I was shocked. Somehow she took a sanity pill.
What do you do if you're a voter and a lot of these victims are credible? The people in the shopping mall where he's banned, come on. Who's banned from a shopping mall? Michael.
I don't want to Roy Moore. I don't live there. I think it's much along the line of what was done to Clarence Thomas before they appointed him to Supreme Court. It has all the earmarks of dirty tricks. Larry, you know and I know that if anyone wanted to drag a $100 bill through Brooklyn or through the Bronx, they could find stuff about us 50 years ago. So what's that going to mean today?
Well, it sounds like a cop-out from you, Michael.
I don't live there.
I'm surprised at that. Because,
I can't think about God and you're dragging me into Roy Moore when I don't even vote there.
Clarence Thomas was one person.
Into Roy Moore. I'm not Roy Moore.
Okay.
I don't live there. I don't live there.
But Clarence Thomas had only one accuser.
Okay.
Okay. Well, let's get to the book. Okay. I understand where you're going. By the way, you've been called the godfather of Trump mania. Do you accept that title?
I originally did, yes.
His approval rating is 37%, disapproval 57%. Surprised?
What's the approval and disapproval of Congress?
Well, that's a Republican Congress. It's probably higher.
Oh, I would say it's probably higher on the Democrat side, the last poll I read. I'm not too happy with Congress on either side of the aisle. I think they're a bunch of grifters and deadbeats, frankly, but that's irrelevant. What's relevant to me is where we are today with regard to God, faith, and reason.
Okay,
I'm trying to leave politics behind me for a few months.
All right, I'll allow that because you're a good guy, Michael, and you have interesting opinions. By the way, one other thing on Trump, and I'll go right to the book. One other thing. He's saying today that the Hollywood Access tape is not authentic. Michael.
I don't even know what tape you're referring to. I've been thinking about this.
Billy Bush tape on the trailer.
Let me ask you something, Larry. Can you find God in a bagel or in the hole in the bagel? That would be the same kind of question I could give you.
Okay, Michael. You in this, I can't wait to read this. I've read parts of it. You like very much the God of the Old Testament. I recently went to my grandkids, they're twins, boy and a girl, bat and bar mitzvah. And I read for the first time in a long time from the Old Testament. That God is cruel.
He's a vengeful God.
My God, how could you... That's funny. How could you worship that God?
100% correct. And I am not a biblical absolutist. That's number one. Nor is this book about the Bible. This book is about my odyssey, my quest to find God in everyday life ever since I've been a little boy, whether it be the story I tell about Papers in the Wind or Boy on Cold Sand in Rockaway. I was really looking for evidence of God in everything I've done all my life. I know it sounds hokey, but it's true. And so this book, God, Faith, and Reason, is not a preachy book. It's not proselytizing. I'm not saying go to church. I'd like people to do what they want. It's about my odyssey, my quest from the time I've been a child to find meaning. Have I found it? I'm going to give you an answer, Larry, because as the book was going to press, meaning finalized, blah, 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 I came to my Albert Einstein moment, my E equals MC squared. I said, where is God? To the Jews who created it all, after which came Christianity, after which came Islam, same God, same belief system as the Old Testament. By the way, difference is Christians have gone through a reformation in the Middle Ages. Islam has not gone through a reformation, which is why they still throw homosexuals off buildings in some throwback countries, and why they kill and stone adulterers, because they read that book literally. They need to go through a reformation. Others in Islam have said that. I'm not the first outside of Islam to say it. They usually kill people who say that in Islam. The women, some of the modernists are saying it. The point is, where is God? Where is he? I realized why our God is invisible, because before the Jews came along, people worshiped stones. They worshiped a cloud. They worshiped a tree. Buddha, they worship a Buddha. It's physical. They can touch it. So the Jews come along and invent the idea, real or unreal, there is no God that you can see or touch.
Stop right there. You say invent the idea. Mm-hmm. If they invented the idea, that God is an invention of a pretty smart group of people.
But I did that for your audience, because your audience is largely Hollywood, cynical. They don't believe in God. Believe me, I have very intelligent, successful people in my family who can reason really hard. They say there is no God. So I had it over the Thanksgiving weekend with my adult son, who is as pragmatic as they come. And he doesn't understand how I can believe in such things. All right, welcome back to the Savage Nation. So I like that interview with Larry King. You see how he tried to make me talk about the guy in Alabama and Trump. I wanted to talk about God, faith, and reason, and we got to that later on, which I'll play in the next hour, just a piece of it. But now we're going to go back now to the issue of so many men being exposed for sexual improprieties. Russell Simmons stepping down from companies after he's worth so much more than Matt Lauer. He created Def Jam Records. Huge, huge. Entrepreneur Russell Simmons announced Thursday that he's stepping down from his company. Stepping down. But listen to this. This is the interesting part. After being accused of sexual assault by writer Jenny Lumet. Now, I didn't know who she was. Well, she's the daughter of the esteemed filmmaker Sidney Lumet, who's one of the greats. And she wrote a guest column in The Hollywood Reporter today where she described an encounter she had with Simmons in 1991 when she was about 24 years old. In that piece, she claimed that Russell Simmons took her to his New York apartment where he forced her to have sex. So he writes that he didn't do it, he's never been violent, he's been with her, he was insensitive, he was thoughtless. Now, he co-founded Def Jam Records with Rick Rubin in 1994. He's removing himself from this enormous business so he'll not be a distraction. And he's going to devote himself to personal growth, spiritual learning, and listening. Yeah, right. How come they all of a sudden discover personal growth and spiritual things after they're forced to resign? It's laughable. I mean, the whole thing is funny. Earlier this month, in a report in the LA Times, model Kerry Clausen Kaligi accused Simmons of sexual misconduct when she was 17 years old. The report includes allegations that filmmaker Brett Ratner was also involved in the incident. There used to be a restaurant in New York, Ratner's. I wonder if they're related. A dairy joint on Delancey Street. I don't know. Simmons, in a statement, denied the allegations, saying everything that happened that night was consensual. So he listened to his statement. You got to listen to this. He writes, as a longtime social activist. Oh, come on now. You see, don't you understand what's going on here? All of these people, Matt Lauer, Charlie Rose, they're all social activists. They're all good liberals. They all walk around with this halo over their own head. And they've all been covering for each other their whole lives. Now you say, okay, well, does it happen on the other side? Of course it does. So don't jump to the conclusion and start saying, oh, only liberals do it. Nonsense. Come on. Don't you remember over the years all the preachers, priests, all the phonies caught in cars with boys and whatnot? So don't think it happens on only one liberal, saying, don't go there. That's not the way it is. I mean, let's be clear here. It's not just liberals. You can say, oh, it's all hypocritical because they're all Democrats. No, that's not it at all. He writes, everything that happened between us 26 years ago was completely consensual. I'm sure it was sensual. I don't know about consensual, right? We know it was sensual for sure because it happened. Now he's saying it's consensual with Kerry's full participation. We spent time in my apartment over a period of 2 days and one night. At much of the time we were in the president. I'm deeply saddened and truly shocked to learn of Kerry's assertions. There must have been some party 2 days and one night as to what happened over the course of that weekend. Wow, what a party he had. 26 years later. Must have been so good they don't forget it. These people, I don't understand it. They remember one kiss from 50 years ago. One kiss they never forgot to kiss 50 years later. Must have been some kiss. I know that's not the point. Come on. I'm trying to lighten it up. Don't condemn me now like a witch. But what's causing this all of a sudden? What is causing all of this to go on? Is it the Levitra, the Viagra, the Cialis, making men hypersexual when they should be forgetting things like that in their life at a certain point? Or maybe a man should never stop. I mean, a man should always be what? Every second. The only animal on earth is the human being that 24/7 is supposed to be in heat. Do you know that animals are supposed to go in and out of sexual feelings? They're not supposed to be in it 24/7. You know how demented this is to think hey, I'm ready to go. I'm ready to go. I'm on the spot. No, you're not. You're not supposed to be. Slow. They're going to go to sleep and turn on the wall banger if this keeps up. We got to get a faster opening. What is this? Nah, all right. It's not my kind of opening. All right, play it out already. What is it? I don't even know who they are. That's a little better. I fell asleep. It was like glue. Oh, hello. Welcome to the Savage Nation, Hour 2. Someone named Meredith Vieira, who I never heard of, called out Matt Lauer, who I have heard of, for a huge bag of sex toys in his office. Oh, he was a sicko. This was a sick guy. But I have no compassion for him. None. Matt Lauer, first photo surfaced. There he is out in a Hummer-type vehicle in the Hamptons, where he ran to Wifey, the one who ditched him. Matt Lauer surfaces in Hamptons after Today Show firing. I thought he went to see his son to tell him in person that he's a div. Schmuck. It was a Wrangler Unlimited, Sahara Wrangler Unlimited. What is with these cars they drive, like to look rugged? Rugged look, rugged. Rugged, a rugged appearance. Boots, like hiking boots. They all look like they're going on a hike. Where's he going on a hike? The only hike he's going to take is to obscurity. He's a fast hike to the Grand Canyon of obscurity. I'm glad, because these people have made my life a human misery. blocked me from every television show in the history of the world. They have a drug dealer on, a pervert, a deviant, an ISIS member, but not Michael Savage. Today Show. What a country we live in. The sickest people in the world run the biggest shows. Can you believe this? Birthday, Aaron Carter charged in DUI. I don't know who Aaron Carter is. Welcome to the Savage Nation. We're talking about why are there so many sex-crazed media men and political people? What's doing it? What is doing it? Some say it's owing to the use of sex enhancement drugs. Others say it's pornography. Others blame it on, I don't know what they blame it on. Everyone has a different reason. Or do you want to go on to something more important like Uranium One? Leave me out of it if you want to talk about Uranium One. I mean, you can get that. That's generic radio now. Uranium One. Very, very large experts dissect North Korea missile. What happened to that story? The other day I thought there'd be a nuclear war. Trump said he'd handle it. Apparently he did because we aren't hearing about it anymore. Gone. Pelosi says Conyers should resign. Now that's clever because the other day she said he shouldn't. Let's hear her. I always like Nancy. You know, a day without Nancy Pelosi is like a day without Radio Sunshine. Can we hear Nancy saying that whatever he should resign? Yeah, that's the one I want to hear.
The allegations against Congressman Conyers, as we have learned more since Sunday, are serious, disappointing, and very credible. It's very sad. The brave women who came forward are owed justice. I pray for Congressman Conyers and his family and wish them well. However, Congressman Conyers should resign.
Whoa. So now she went from he's not really guilty and he's a saint. Now he should resign because she's in such trouble. Because the politically correct movement, which is like communist countries, is you have to go 100% with the party line or they throw you out of the party. And the party line of the Democrats is that. And that's that. So I guess Conyers is in the hospital now with an illness related to the stress. He's an odd one, a real odd one. You know Roy Moore, the guy that Larry King brought up, that fellow down in Alabama? He blamed the misconduct allegations against him on a special group of people. You have to hear clip 6. I was shocked to read this.
We've got opposition from both parties. I feel comfortable talking to church because I can talk about both parties. Not only am I being opposed by the Democrats who want to push a liberal agenda, I'm being opposed by the Washington establishment who don't want to change what anything's going on in Washington, D.C. And I'm still leading. And they've tried unsuccessfully. They've tried unsuccessfully to change that. They've done everything. When I say they, who are they? They're liberals. They don't want conservative values. They're the lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender who want to change our culture. They're socialists who want to change our way of life, putting man above God, and that government is our God. They're the Washington establishment. It simply wants to keep their jobs, do the same thing, keep everything same so they don't lose their position, their power, and their prestige.
Now, a rabbi jumps into the mix in Alabama. An Orthodox rabbi, I didn't know they were allowed in Alabama. An Orthodox rabbi, that's a joke. Can you make a joke anymore in talk radio? An Orthodox rabbi jumps in and says Moore is right. Listen to this in clip 9.
Judge Moore has a proven track record of fighting for public policy based on biblical values and not perversion, and that's why he's a target. He faithfully stands at the front lines against the enemy within, as a battle-tested bulwark to combat those who seek to victimize children and adults through transgender bathroom bills, LGBT indoctrination in schools, and much more. And that's why he's a target. We need Judge Moore to stand up to the LGBT transgender mafia, which legislates that sins that the Bible brands abomination into public policy, thereby advancing laws that result in state-sanctioned abuse of children and adults alike.
This is hot stuff, I got to tell you. I mean, these people have really crossed the Mason-Dixon line on this one. That's a huge story. I'm not going to comment on it because I respect my profession too much to want to lose it. I'll just play the sound and you decide on your own where you stand on that particular issue. Don't call me on it because I'm not going to talk about it. Now, there's another issue that we're going to talk about. There's a woman named Linda Sarsour. Linda Sarsour is a Palestinian radical activist, a Jew hater through and through, in my estimation, an Israel hater. She'd like to see the Jews driven into the sea, and she is really causing a lot of trouble. Listen to what she says about Donald Trump, what she says about Jews. This is a Linda Sarsour you must get to know in clip 10.
I don't care who you are, Jewish or not Jewish, we all must commit to dismantling anti-Semitism. And that the existential threat resides in the White House, in the highest offices of these lands. And if what you're reading all day long, morning and night in the Jewish media is that Linda Sarsour and Minister Farrakhan are the existential threat to the Jewish community, something really bad's going to happen and we're going to miss the mark on it.
Yeah, well, Louis Farrakhan has called Jews every name under the sun, Linda. You know that. Both you and he are the reptiles of our time. Everyone knows that. You're the Jew haters. You are the Nazis of our time, only you're hiding behind a scarf and some holy religion. Let me tell you something. Everybody knows what you really want to happen to the Jews. Everybody knows who you are. Listen to clip 11.
So what I say to all of you here is that I am not looking for any approval from Zionists, right-wing Zionists, from Jewish Americans, from not Jewish Americans. I don't need anybody to invite me to the movement to dismantle anti-Semitism. I come here because I believe in it, and it's the right thing to do for all of us.
Only in America can a Nazi like this get a podium at at a conference on anti-Semitism. Only in America could someone who hates Jews become a lead speaker at a conference on anti-Semitism. Only in America. Never forget the name Linda Sarsour, Sarsour. Emphasis on the last syllable of her last name, Linda Sarsour. Linda Sarsour. There's more than sourness to this one. This is the Savage Nation. The phone number is 855-400-7282. Let's take some calls. Will on KSFO line 5. What's on your mind, Will?
I just wanted to, Dr. Savage, first let me actually tell you that it's an honor to talk to you. I know you hear it all the time, and you don't need any buttering or anything, but you're pretty much the only one I listen to on the news now because there's so much garbage out there. And
yeah, but I don't do just the news. I mean, I do other stuff. You know, I throw the news in because I can't do news. You know, uranium one. How much you can take of that?
Yep, with all that stuff that's going on, I appreciate your prose. I want to compare you to somebody, but I don't know how you're going to take it because he, even on his deathbed, he regretted being responsible for, you know, the liberalism that's going on right now. But you're kind of a Jack Kerouac on the radio.
I love Jack Kerouac. He's one of my literary mentors.
Yeah.
If Jack Kerouac were alive and he was a talk show host, he'd be me.
Absolutely.
If Henry Miller were alive and he was a talk show host, he'd be me.
Yeah, I agree.
Are you a guy in the literary world? I mean, do you read? What do you do?
I read. I don't have time now. I have a family, so I'd like to have a little bit more time to read, but I used to. And
well, I'm sending you God, Faith, and Reason, so you got something to read over the holidays. It may change your life. Look, folks, I got to tell you this. We're going to talk about life and stress. Well, let me tell you what stress is. When the IRS is after you for back taxes, you'll know what stress is. You'll know what stress is when they show up and seize your bank account, put a lien on your home, or garnish your wages. It was even worse for Lori. Lori, you see, was engaged, but she knew bringing $25,000 of IRS debt into the marriage was no way to start a new life. So Lori did something smart. She called Optima Tax Relief. Optima stepped between Lori and the IRS, analyzed her case, and uncovered some game-changing facts that allowed them to settle her case in her favor. Listen, when Optima told Lori that her IRS problems were over, she called it the happiest call of her life, and her wedding was back on. I want you to understand something. Optima has resolved over $500 million in tax debt for their clients. That's a lot of money. They're A+ rated with the Better Business Bureau. That's why I selected them as an advertiser. Getting your life back starts the moment you call Optima for your free consultation. You call 800-731-2474. Write it down. 800-731-2474. One more time, 800-731-2474. 888-203-5474. There's another thing with the molestation. Let's get it up. Let's clear it up. This one met Betty Midler. If you could ever imagine anyone ever wanted her, she says Geraldo Rivera drugged her and groped her. This is a YouTube interview from 1991. Now, I got to say something. I don't know Betty Midler. I don't know Geraldo. I actually like Geraldo now. You know why I like him? Because when I did a piece called My Silent Brother, I talked about the horrible home that my brother had been put into in Staten Island. And in that little videotape that I ran, there was Geraldo Rivera where he exposed the snake pit for what it was. And shortly thereafter, they closed it down. So for that reason alone, I don't care what he does or says. I like the guy. He doesn't know me. I don't know him. But I'm his friend. He should know that. I don't know why Betty Midler is coming up all of a sudden. Can anyone imagine wanting? I mean, I'm asking you a question. What is this? 1991? Listen to what she said happened in 1991.
Geraldo and his producer came to do an interview with me in the 70s, the early 70s. And this was when he was very sort of hot. And he and his producer left the crew in the other room. They pushed me into my bathroom. They broke 2 poppers and pushed them under my nose and proceeded to grope me. I did not offer myself up on the altar of Geraldo Rivera. He was unseemly. His behavior was unseemly.
No comment. Let's see the rest of it and get it over with. 22.
My friend says, "Oh, what a charmer! Of course you slept with him after that." I'll tell you the truth. If I had known he was going to be he was going to 20 years later he was going to wind up a slimy talk show host, I never would have even let him in the room. You know, I mean, you have no way of knowing at the time that these things are going to come back to haunt you.
A slimy talk show host, and what are you? Betty Midler's what? A slimy what? What is she? Does she work? What does she run, a retirement home in Boca Raton? What does she do? What is she, some big shot? A slimy talk show host. Hey, Betty, let me tell you something. He's bigger and more of a person than you could ever be, no matter what you say about him. A slimy talk show host. What, being a talk show host isn't good? Only you're good? You and Larry David? You and that crowd of slime bags? You're good? No, I don't buy that. Here's one female Michigan candidate for Attorney General. You're never going to believe how bad this is becoming. Here is a person running to become Attorney General in Michigan. I want you to listen to it because you're not going to believe what she's running on. 23.
If the last few weeks has taught us anything, it's that we need more women in positions of power, not less. So, when you're choosing Michigan's next Attorney General, ask yourself this. Who can you trust most not to show you their penis in a professional setting? Is it the candidate who doesn't have a penis? I'd say so.
Oh, my God.
Some people will tell you, I can't be the Democratic nominee for Attorney General here in Michigan because we can't have an all-female ticket for statewide office in 2018. Pundits and insiders are asking, can we afford to have a female governor, a female Attorney General, and a female Secretary of State? Well, I read the news, and I bet you do too. And it has me wondering, can we afford not to? Right now, I want to tell you what you can expect me not to do. I will not sexually harass my staff, and I won't tolerate it in your workplace either. I won't walk around in a half-open bathrobe.
Thank God.
And I'll continue to take all sex crimes seriously, just like I do as a prosecutor.
All right, let's stop right here. This is just what the state needs, is someone as vindictive as this. It's not that she's a woman. This is not about her being a woman. This is about being a man-hater. You know, if you're a woman and you had a father, which obviously I think you did unless you came from a turkey baster, or if you're a woman who has a son or a brother or a cousin, are you going to let these psychotics take over this country who say that you should vote for them because they don't have a penis? Is this what this nation has come down to? That the sickest people on the planet are now selling themselves on the basis of not having a penis? I'm afraid so. Well, my friends, that's one man's opinion. There are a lot of opinions on many matters. Unfortunately for you, I have a talk show, and you don't. But if you care to join the show, and you can get through my call screener, the phone number is 855-400-7282, 855-400-SAVAGE. When I come back, I have some surprises for you. News, Views, and Reviews, right here on the war between men and women. The war between men and women, which has been going on since Adam and Eve. So I played some sound for you in the last segment. One of them was a candidate for the Attorney General in Michigan says, vote for me because I don't have a penis. That would be like saying vote for me because I'm not white, or vote for me because I am white, or vote for me because I'm not a certain race. Vote for me because I'm not a man? It's the sickest thing I've ever heard in my life. Rolando disagrees with me. That's why this is a democracy called Talk Radio. Rolando calling on KSFO. Go ahead, please. Make your point.
Okay, well, my point is this. The woman simply is highlighting an issue that is a problem in the United States that individuals like yourself are completely overlooking. You talked about if this woman had a father, and she's a man-hater and this and that. Completely ridiculous. I have a mother, and I have a daughter, and I'll be damned if I'm going to let some SOB, think that they can, push my mother around or my daughter around simply because they're in a position of power. I've seen...
Wait, sir, you're actually sounding hysterical. You're saying her qualifications are that she doesn't have a penis, and that sounds rational to you?
More important than her not having a penis. She's simply using that as a basis point to get individuals' attention. And you're
are you sure of that? She didn't use it as a passing reference, Rolando. She was quite specific that she is a candidate who can be trusted only because she doesn't have a penis. What are her other qualifications, Rolando?
Okay, she has no more of a penis than you have a vagina, all right? She's simply making a point. You can't get...
Wait, hold it, sir. What if somebody ran for office in California and said, vote for me because I don't have a vagina? Would that be rational to you?
You know what? I'll tell you what. Under the circumstances, you have to look at what's going on here, okay?
No, you're not answering my question. What if a candidate came along in Alabama and said he's running to be Attorney General in Alabama because he doesn't have a vagina? Tell me how that would play in your liberal community, big mouth.
Okay, look. Hey, wait a minute. I'm not a big mouth, and I'm not a liberal. Okay, I'm a conservative.
Oh, no, you're a U.S. Marine, Special Forces, Green Beret. You fought in Afghanistan. You have the Congressional Medal of Honor, right?
No, but I'd probably fight you if I ran into you.
Right, because you're a scumbag. You're one of those thuggish leftist scumbags. What do you belong to, Antifa? What do you belong to, Antifa? You're the type that throws nails under a horse?
Of it. You've got to show you're taking advantage of it because you're in a situation
where... Well, who are you? Wait a minute, big mouth. Who are you? Go ahead. You know everything about me. I want you to tell the world who you... Shut up. Just shut up or I'm hanging up on you. Just shut up or you're going to lose your audience. Shut up. Who are you? Tell us who you are.
Okay. I'm a successful businessman that's been working in the Silicon Valley for 30 years, and I have a massive...
Oh, are you? You're so successful that you revert to being a thug and say you would punch me if you met me? You're not you are a thug. How many men have you molested at work?
You're sick, Mission. You're a sick...
How many men have you molested at work?
All right. Okay, you know what? Now you lose...
Yeah, you can take it. You're nobody. You're probably a predator on men. That's who you are. What did you use, your Silicon Valley power, to make young boys do what you wanted?
You were so sick. Mike.
Yeah, I'm so sick that I got you where I want you. I've reduced you to nothing. That's how sick I am. Take a walk and get off my show. You lower the IQ just by talking. Now shut up and go away. Go call Bernie Ward in a prison cell. Now, my friends, we go back to normal programming. We go back to the Larry King Show because I was on it. I like Larry. Even though he's a liberal, he is a real liberal, unlike that piece of garbage you just called me. Larry King is an old-style liberal. While he may disagree with me, he is respectful as I am to him, unlike that predator who just called the show. So I'm going back to the Larry King interview on my book, God, Faith, and Reason, something that the last caller would never read because he doesn't believe in God, he has no faith, and he has no reason. Let's listen to part 2 of Michael Savage on Larry King.
I'll ask you, how can you?
I'll explain it simply. First of all, let me explain. I have a doctorate in a real science. I want to say that so that people understand I'm not just harebrained, don't know what I'm talking about. I'm a super logical mind. But Einstein, in his later years, Einstein, held up as one of the great minds of all time, said that the more he studied the perimeters of the universe, the more he realized there had to be a grand creator. It couldn't have happened by accident. Just to put that aside, I'm not Einstein. But that's what he said. He's not this atheistic hippie, apropos of the posters in the college campuses with the tongue hanging out and the big hair. He was actually a believer. So how can I believe? Here's how I believe. I think God created it all of it, created by God. But he doesn't control our everyday activities. He doesn't control it, or else I don't want to believe that God punished 6 million Jews in the Holocaust. Then I have to believe he's an evil God. I don't believe he punishes the children in a cancer ward. I have to believe he's an evil God. I believe there's chance and free will. He creates it all, created it all. The rest is up to chance and us.
That's easy to say. But well, you also said that the God of the Old Testament was vindictive.
He was.
So how could you like him?
Who said I have to like him? He has to like me. He doesn't worry about me. I have to worry about him. I don't control what he does. See, I'm not that egocentric that he cares whether I like him or not. I care whether he likes me, because at the end of my life, I'm not going to face me. I'm going to face something else. That goes for you and everyone else listening to this show. We don't know what's waiting for us. We can be tough guys our whole life. You know, they say there are no atheists in a foxhole. We've heard that 1,000 times. How many atheists are there in a cancer ward in stage 4? I would like to know that answer. You have to believe in something, as my mother said to me 100 times when I asked as a child, does God exist? And she would say, we have to believe in something. So you say, oh, it's a fairy tale. God, faith, and reason. You start with reason. Reason moves us to faith. Faith moves us to God. You can say reason doesn't lead us to God. Yes, it does. What else can reason lead us to? That it was created by Cecil B.
How do you know? First of all, there's obvious thing here with faith. You can't argue faith, nor can you prove it.
I don't want to prove it. That's not my job. My book, God, Faith, and Reason, is about my quest to find God. And I finally discovered in writing the book, for all the years I've been searching since I'm a little kid. Can I tell an anecdote? 5 years old, Bronx. A Jewish newspaper is blowing down the street on Longfellow Avenue. It was in Yiddish. I didn't even read the language. I thought it was a holy grail. This little kid ran down the street in the wind, picked up all these sheets of paper, brought home the bundle in my hand. I said, Ma, look, I saved all these holy pages. She said, it's okay, Michael. It's just a newspaper. I didn't know what it was. So I've been always searching for some answer, Larry. I don't have the answer. I have the search. And that is the mystery of my book, which is that the search is the success. The search is the finding. That is a Kabbalistic viewpoint, if you want to put it in a common parlance. It's also a mystical Jewish viewpoint, which is that the search is the success. How can we have a firm proof for something along these order, which no one has ever been able to prove through the history of mankind? But does that mean all the people who believe are morons?
No, but if it's a search, that doesn't mean it's a find.
I'm not saying it is. I'm saying this is my search.
So it's still going on.
There's a chapter in there, Conversations with a Jewish Gangster. This man had 8 bullets in him. This was one of the bad ones. You probably know him. He died a number of years ago. He came on my radio show. He said, I got shot 8 times. I was dying of sepsis in Corcoran prison. He said, I found God when he broke me. He said, I only found God when he broke me. I couldn't believe what he was saying. This guy's as tough as tough as they come. Knifed, stabbed, shot. No one could break him. He said, when I was broken and almost dead, I found God. He said, God wants to break us, the tough ones, in order to have us find him. So I pray I don't have to go there, Larry. I'd rather find him before I'm broken.
I can't make the leap to think that I'm going somewhere when I die, that this is all, there's some great plan, and there's somebody looking out over me. I can't make that leap. I respect those who have it. I can't make it.
Okay, then you and I are the same in some way, but in some ways we have different beliefs. You have reason, good reason, and you're a pragmatic man who's gotten far in life through your reason. But your reason fails you at a certain point because you can't figure it out. No one can. That's where faith comes in. Now, I've met people with medical degrees, PhDs, geniuses, who on both sides of the aisle, some don't believe in anything. One is an MD, PhD friend, the physiologist, neuropsychologist says, Michael, come on, stop with the God stuff. He said, when we die, the electrical energy stops and we're dead. I said, I don't believe that. I said, when we die, electrical energy stops in our brain. Something's dead, but our soul is not dead. He said, there is no soul. I said, speak for yourself, Harry. Maybe you have no soul. I do. Mine is eternal. I believe we are going to be judged and we're going to be paid off in the next world. Now, am I right or wrong? How do I know? But I'm gambling, Larry. I'm gambling. Here's my gamble. My gamble is that there is a judgment day and there is another world. So I'm trying to lead as good a life as I can. I screw up every day. Had a lot of anger over the Thanksgiving weekend. The family yelling, screaming, still in the Bronx. Can't help it.
Michael, I want to give you an invitation anytime you're ready to come here to Glendale, California, in the suburb of Los Angeles. We will do a whole half hour on this, and I will read the book in the meantime. We'll get right into it. Thank you, Michael.
Larry, always a great pleasure.
Savage.
Now, you see, there is an example of a liberal and a conservative who are rational, decent people. The caller I had is an example of a fascist. And that is what we are trying to expose on this program. A woman runs and says, oh, vote for me because I don't have a penis. This guy calls and says that's a perfectly rational position to take. I say to him, what if a man ran and said, vote for me because I don't have a vagina? He changes the subject. And that is the difference between reason and unreasonableness. And I'm Michael Savage, trying to make a difference. I'll be right back. Did you know that Uber disclosed the breach of 57 million passengers and drivers' records? 57 million. Hackers accessed personal information like names, driver's license numbers of the drivers, and names, email addresses, and phone numbers of passengers. Though this breach was just recently announced, this personal information was actually stolen over 1 year ago. And if you're only monitoring your credit, your identity can still be stolen in ways you may not detect. Good thing there's LifeLock. LifeLock detects a wide range of identity threats. Threats you may miss by just monitoring your credit, like someone stealing from your 401k or committing a crime in your name. And if there's a problem, a U.S.-based identity restoration specialist will work to fix it. We all know that no one can prevent all identity theft or monitor all transactions at all businesses. But LifeLock can help you see more threats to your identity. Please go to LifeLock.com or call 1-800-LifeLock, promo code SAVAGE. That's SAVAGE promo code on 1-800-LifeLock. You're going to get 10% off your LifeLock membership. Visit LifeLock.com and save 10% now. I think what I'd like to do for you right now is play the soundbite of the female Michigan candidate for Attorney General who says, vote for me because I don't have a penis. If you think that this is a rational campaign, then you're really sick in the head. That would be like saying, going into a high-crime district where a certain ethnic group predominates and say, vote for me because I'm not of this ethnic group. Tell me what would happen then. Don't you understand how stupid this is? Insulting and sexist it actually is. Listen to this slimy creature, female Michigan candidate for Attorney General Dana Nessel. Tell me if you think this helps or hurts her in clip 23.
If the last few weeks has taught us anything, it's that we need more women in positions of power, not less. So, when you're choosing Michigan's next Attorney General, ask yourself this. Who can you trust most not to show you their penis in a professional setting? Is it the candidate who doesn't have a penis? I'd say so.
Okay, let's stop right
Some
there.
people will tell you...
She's sick in the head. This is a man-hating, castrating monster. Any woman who would even say a thing like this publicly is a castrating monster, in my estimation. She is the problem, not the solution. I don't care if a woman wins. I wouldn't care if she was gay or straight. I wouldn't care what her race is. What I care about is her qualifications as Attorney General. Now, for this woman to say that she's qualified because she doesn't have a penis means that she's going in with an agenda that is anti-male. It means she has an agenda to destroy men. It means that she's not qualified to run on the face of it. Well, that's one man's opinion. Tracy on WABC, what's your opinion? Go ahead, please.
Hi, Michael. Long-time listener. Just want to let you know that I'm very insulted by this woman from Michigan saying that she should have votes only because she doesn't have a penis. As a woman, I have a dad, I have a brother, and I have a husband. And I've been saying this for months. How is it that all these women that have what to say about men, don't they have men in their lives that they love? And
No, they don't. Obviously, they're man-haters. They hate men.
Absolutely.
They hate men. They hate men, hate men, hate men. They hate boys. There's been a war against boys in this country for a good 15 years. Now the war against men has escalated using perverts and deviants like Matt Lauer, whatever the names are, to now attack all men. This is sickening. But, you know, there's a good side to this. And the good side is that we're seeing the sexists coming out of the woodwork. Sexists like the female Michigan candidate, Dana Nessel, who says, vote for me because I don't have a penis. It is good to see naked sexism coming out of the woodwork, Tracy, and that's the good side of it. I'm sending you a copy of God, Faith, and Reason. Thank you for calling the show. This is unbelievable to me that a woman would actually say that and think it's a rational thing. You know how irrational that is? Irrational. Stupid and irrational. This is a product of a woman who only talks to other radical women, only hangs out with other radical man-haters, hangs around, talks about men in such terms, and she takes what is private and personal, puts it on the public into the public forum, and she's seen for what she is, a small-minded microcephalic of the mind. Well, that's what's going on. I ask why so many sex-crazed media and political figures. We can also ask, why have we not heard about any women in Hollywood, for example, who have used their power to sexually, whatever you want to call it, molest other women? Don't tell me it didn't happen. Why have we not heard one case yet of a powerful woman in Hollywood or in government who has used their power to seduce and abandon a powerless woman who wanted a job or worked for them? Tell me why. Who's protecting them? Who is protecting them? Why are the women so well insulated from such accusations? Please don't tell me it doesn't occur, because I will respectfully disagree with you. We all know that this does occur, but we haven't heard one such case. Where is the female Harvey Weinstein? Welcome to hour number 3 of the Savage Nation. So, there is a human being, so-called, running for the Attorney General's position in Michigan who says that her qualifications are, vote for me because I don't have a penis. So I thought it was insulting. I thought it was sexist. I thought it was sick, juvenile, idiotic, and a sign of our times where radical feminists have gotten so brazen that they think simply man-hating is enough to get them into office, and I pray they are wrong. So I researched this person, Dana Nessel, who I'd never heard of, and there she was. April DeBoer and Jane Rouse took their challenge of Michigan's gay marriage ban all the way to the Supreme Court, and guess who their lawyer was as they won in the Supreme Court? Why, it was none other than Dana Nessel. So this man-hating woman, Dana Nessel, who'll deny that she hates men, but she does. She says, vote for me because I don't have a penis. Do you have any idea how insulting this is to the human species? What if, listen to me very carefully, someone ran for office in California and said, vote for me because I don't have a vagina. Tell me what would have happened to that person on the Today Show, the Tomorrow Show, the Yesterday Tomorrow, or the Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow Show. They would have called him every name under the sun, and rightly so. But what if a woman shows herself to be a man-hating psycho like this? We're supposed to laugh at it and say it's okay. It's not okay. This is a very, very sick thing to promote. Is there anyone from Michigan who knows this Dana Nessel and her background? Daniel on WKZO in Michigan. Line 8, go ahead. Who is this person?
Thank you, Dr. Savage. It's an honor to speak with you. What little I've heard of her, I try to keep up with politics, and the initial publicity I heard about Dana Nessel was that she was for the recreational legalization of marijuana in Michigan, which is coming up on the 2018 ballot. And so
so she's a far left radical. She's a far left radical. She wants to drug the population, drug the children, make people dumber than they already are, turn them into drug addicts. We don't have a bad enough drug problem in the country. Now we have to add another drug to the mix. How could you want people to use recreational pot when they're already addicted to opioids and many other problematic chemicals? Why would you want more of an addictive substance floating around out there unless you wanted a stupider population? Let me send you God, Faith, and Reason, Daniel. Phone number is 855-400-7282, 855-400-SAVAGE. Kristen on KVOR Radio. KVOR, you're in Las Vegas, Kristen?
No, I'm in Colorado.
Oh, I keep forgetting you're up in the mountains. Go ahead. What's on your mind?
Well, this topic, it reminds me of, I grew up as a latchkey kid, and, it was of the time where we were told we could do everything. We could be mothers, we could have careers, we could, all this stuff, and I really got lost in that. And the greatest disservice, I think, growing up was there was no foundation given to me about faith. Nothing. So,
well, no, because you were taught to have faith in yourself, your own ego, your own narcissism.
yes,
You were taught to have faith in the women's movement, weren't you? You were taught that the women's movement itself was better than God.
yes. I mean, and this is an example of, this woman just riding the wave. And
Here's an example of a woman who is so filled with her own stupidity that she thinks the rest of the country is going to salute her for saying, vote for me for Attorney General, not because I have any qualifications, but because I don't have a penis.
right, it's a ridiculous statement, and it just counters.
Well, maybe the women in Michigan will go for it. Maybe the women in Michigan think that's a good idea.
Maybe they do. I don't know. I have three teenagers, so I need God more now than ever. And this is not the thing that I want my girl.
Can you imagine a teenager listening to a woman as hateful of men as this? Getting up there in a public position saying, vote for me because I don't have a penis. What will that do to boys? Tell me what that will do to a boy, an adolescent boy who, he should hate his body, maybe get a razor blade and destroy himself because he's a man?
This is what we do if the kids come home.
This is an example. If ever there was an example of the end line of liberalism, this is it. Let us hope this is the end of the cycle of insanity that we have to live with. I'm sending you God, faith, and reason. Maybe you'll find some solace and some sanity in the Book of Ages because I quote it liberally throughout the book. Pardon me for using that phrase. 855-400-728. I forget my number. 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-728. There's another soundbite that I was thinking of playing. It's this guy Scarborough on MSNBC. Do you know who he is? He's a low-life ex-Republican. He has no intellect whatsoever. He's a very, very widely quoted man for some reason when he has no depth, no intellect whatsoever. He says that Trump has dementia. Why in the world would anyone take this nobody, Scarborough, so seriously that they run his sound bites when the man has no intellect? Look who his co-host is, this Brzezinski. Do you know who Brzezinski's father was? Do you know him? Do you remember him? The national security advisor under Jimmy Carter. Do you remember Jimmy Carter's presidency? Brzezinski was the national security advisor. Well, that's who this one is. Clip 24, if you don't mind. Play it.
You represent 320 million people whose lives are literally in your hands.
Oh,
and we are
up.
facing a showdown with a nuclear power, and you have somebody inside the White House that the New York Daily News says is mentally unfit, that people close to him say is mentally unfit.
You're morally
that people
unfit
close
at
to
any
him during the
speed.
campaign told me had early stages of
Who are
dementia.
you?
Now, listen, you can get mad at me if you want to. When are we supposed to say that?
Do you realize what this man is doing to undermine the presidency? Do you have any idea how seditious this is? Here's another example of extreme liberalism gone wild. Extreme liberalism that talks only to itself, tells the jokes in the green room. Everyone laughs as they're having the makeup put on, and they think it's funny, and then they present it out to the world at large. This is a man undermining the president of the United States. This, to me, is as seditious as it comes. You can say I disagree with his policies. You can say I don't like his candidacy. I don't like anything about him as a president. But when you are saying people have told you he is senile, what you are doing is violating a trust with the American people. And I will say this, and I'll say it again. I'm a member of the media. I'm a member of the media, and I take it very seriously. I know what my job is. But when you seek to undermine the presidency itself on a regular basis as this low-life, sad, low intellect Joe Scarborough seems to do for ratings, I believe the government has an obligation to step in and take control of MSNBC if they keep this up. You'll say you're calling for censorship? No, I'm calling for more than censorship. I am calling for turning these stations off, taking away their licensing. I am calling for a government to step in and close them down. How's that? Is that censorship? No, it's worse than censorship. It's far worse than censorship. But that's what's going to happen if these people do not stop it. Joe Scarborough has just crossed the line. Joe Scarborough, always known for being a faker, always known to be very lightweight, always jealous of people with a better education and more brain power than him. He understands that his ratings depend upon one thing, like Rachel Madcow, and that is bashing Trump. That's fine. They have the right to do it. They have the power to do it. You can say anything you want up to a point. But, Joe, you just crossed the line. When you say that the president has early stages of dementia, what I would do if I were the president of the United States, I would challenge you to prove it. And if you could not prove it definitively in a medical forum, I would take you off the air. I'd close down MSNBC. I would sanction them. I would do anything I had to do to stop this, not fake news. This is toxic news. Donald Trump, pay attention. We have gone from fake news, they've escalated it, to toxic news. That's what Michael Savage says. Matt Lauer, huge bag of sex toys in his office. Disney debuts first boy princess. Dana Nessel wants to run for attorney general in Michigan, saying that she should be elected because she doesn't have a penis. This country is melting down morally faster than an ice cream sundae on an August day in Manhattan. And I don't know who's going to stop it. I don't know how it's going to stop. It seems to me that the deviant left is now out of control. And this is a product of them never having been challenged by the leftist media goons who have fallen themselves. You see, if the Matt Lauers of the media, these power-hungry, power-mad czars of the media, had taken on some of these psychos along the way, or if they had had counterpoints on ABC, CBS, or NBC, counterpoints of conservatives such as myself or others to present a different point of view, we would not be seeing psychopaths who are running for office with a billboard that says, "Who can you trust not to show you their penis in a professional setting? Vote for me." Do you realize this is the sign of a mental illness, a woman who would run a thing like that? In my opinion, this is a mentally ill individual. Michigan Dem candidate on how to stop sexual harassment. Elect people without male genitalia like me. Again, let us say I wanted to run for the attorney general position in California, which I do not, and I say vote for me because I don't have a vagina. Tell me what would happen with the liberal media here in California and the rest of the country. Tell me what Matt Lauer or the other guy who got thrown out on his can last week, again, Rose. Tell me what Rose would have clucked about last week before they went back to their bag of tricks, their little bag of toys in the back room with the buttons under their desks. And that is a product, as I say, the product of 30 straight years of a one-sided media that has become so imbalanced that it's imbalanced mentally and every other way. Politically imbalanced, now it's mentally imbalanced. The solution is quite simple. The solution is to listen to me and not to them, which you're doing. Muslim population in Europe projected to rise, further fueling immigration debate. That's why Trump was right. Congressman won't seek re-election after nude pic leak, old Republican. On my website, michaelsavage.com, congrats, President Trump. You are now hated by the radical Muslim mayor of London, as am I. Congratulations. Take a look at that microcephalic mayor over there in London. Texas student newspaper blasted over anti-white. Your DNA is an abomination column. That is right. A student newspaper had a lead editorial on whiteness saying your DNA is an abomination. White is over. This is Hitlerism. This is Nazism. This is anti-Caucasian Nazism by any other name. Matt Lauer says he's embarrassed and ashamed in his first statement since being fired. Oh, he's embarrassed and ashamed? How do you like that? Well, let's go to the top of michaelsavage.com and see what I have up there. It's Watch Savage interview with Larry King. If you missed it and you want to see the whole thing or hear the whole thing, there it is. Read the reviews about what critics are saying about God, Faith, and Reason, which is in bookstores and online right now. The book is selling very well, thank you. Week 2 is about equal to week 1. The big week is coming up, which is next week when people start shopping for Christmas, seriously going into bookstores. So if you intend to buy the book, buy it online or buy it now because you'll be happy you did. You just might be able to save a person's life with some commonsensical stuff in God, Faith, and Reason. The phone number here is 855-400-7282. Is there any big news story out there other than sex toys and Weinstein and males and females? Well, the Dow is up to 24,000. Old crackpot McCain says yes on tax cuts. Can you believe this? What happened to him? Would they give him a sanity pill for the morning? Here's a terrible story, a terrible mistake if they do it. You'll probably disagree with me if you are a Zionist. White House moles recognizing undivided Jerusalem capital and relocating the U.S. Embassy to Jerusalem from Tel Aviv. If ever there was a bad time for this, it's right now. We are right on the brink of war with North Korea. At least we were on Tuesday. Why would this administration want to stir up a hornet's nest in the Middle East right now? Why? Who is advising the president on this? Can anyone explain it to me? Well, I hope you can, because I can't explain it to me. Let's take some calls on the Savage Nation. KBET, Mary, line 1. What's on your mind?
This whole thing about the sex scandals and everything is planned ahead to get a woman elected president next time around, and it'll probably be Michelle Obama.
Well, I suggested Michelle a few weeks ago, but I don't believe she's going to run. And I'll tell you why I don't think Michelle Obama wants to run. I believe she is so wealthy right now that she doesn't want the headache of being in office ever again. I think that she has more money than she ever thought she would have. She's leading a good life. I don't think she's interested in running, personally. And by the way, if she doesn't run, I don't think the Democrats can win, because there's not a Democrat out there that has a chance against Donald Trump.
Well, I hope you're right, and I mail excerpts from your books to all my grandkids so they read my letters. But it's
that's sweet, honey. I'm going to send you another copy of God, Faith, and Reason. That's so nice. I know a lot of people are touched by the book, and, it's not in the numbers that sell. Of course, we all like to have a book that sells 12 million books. I understand that. But, the significance of a book is not how many you sell. The significance of a book is what's between the covers, not what's on the cover. And I believe that the significance of God, Faith, and Reason will last a very long time. I know it took me many, many years to write this book and put it together, and I believe that it has a lasting value. I think it's a classic. As someone who knows these things said to me, it's like a missing book of the Old Testament. That's the greatest compliment anyone ever paid to me. It's like a missing book from the Old Testament. And so I'm not Jeremiah, I'm not Job, I'm not Ezekiel. But if I were, right, maybe I would have written God, Faith, and Reason, or pieces of it anyway. I think some of the statements are new to literature, which is that when I said God is not dead, man is dead to God. I haven't heard that anywhere, didn't copy it from anyone. It's not derivative, all you literary geniuses. It is not derivative. It's original. You know why? Because I'm an original. What you may not know is that there are originals on the planet, and I'm one of them. Why is there so much deviancy in the media is the question. Why are there so many sex-crazed media and political figures? And someone wrote this on my Twitter feed. Ray Hager opines that it's old men afraid of natural aging coupled with male enhancement industry, out-of-control sexual behavior plus out-of-control profits, deviant behavior amplified legally. Guys, can I tell you something? There is a reason your sex drive leaves you as you get older. It's because you're not supposed to be a sex maniac at 80, 70. You're supposed to calm down. So you keep taking Viagra, Levitra. Anyway, the point is that these sex enhancement drugs, what do you think it does to a person's mind? It drives them crazy. Okay, so old men afraid of natural aging, yes. The hair dying, the dyeing of the hair, the hair plugs. I don't need a hair. I'm not going to get a hair plug. What do you need hair for? You can be very potent without hair. I think that men have it all wrong about what women like anyway, by the way. But anyway, that's a separate topic. I'm saying, why is there so much of this all of a sudden? Why are there so many sex-crazed media and political figures? Well, there's an answer to that as well. And there is an answer to that. The media is an industry that produces a lot of testosterone in males. You get so high on what you're doing. You got to drive your testosterone so hard. I mean, ask, what's his name? Geraldo Mustachio. He even said it, what he did back in the 60s and 70s, what was going on in newsrooms at that time. It drives testosterone. In case you don't know it, a lot of sex used to go on in this industry before I joined it, of course. I killed the sex in the and it's an industry that drives testosterone in males, by the way. And so a lot of it is displaced in an unhealthy manner. That's number one. But what I want to know is, why does a guy like Matt Lauer or these guys, what is this with stripping naked and showing their bodies? They're not well known for their bodies. Do you think Matt Lauer's a hot guy? And let's say he was for a minute. What is this about showing your body? A girl's supposed to fall on her knees and beg you for sex because you're naked? That's very romantic, Matt. You're really a genius. I mean, you go back to Harvey Weinstein, another one, out of the shower naked. Everybody wanted to make it with a fat old Jewish guy, right? Like Harvey Weinstein. What was he thinking? They never heard of flowers and dinner? Popping out of the shower naked? Flowers and dinner went out. All of a sudden, crazy system that we have here. Okay. You're not going to stop human nature. That's all I can say to you. I got to tell you, there's a genius in the home studio. I was way ahead of my time. No wonder I fought for the home studio way back 20 years ago. I fought for it like crazy. I didn't know it was coming. But how can you have workplace harassment if you're alone in a room and there's no one around you? It's me and the dog. There's nothing, me and the dog and a microphone. I think that may be the future of media. They'll have to give everyone in television a home studio. Not only in radio, but in television. They'll have to build guys like Matt Lauer, like a funny farm studio at home where he can't even leave. They build him a huge set and there's no one around him. Like the assistants are remote. They're on a Skype screen. That's the future of TV and radio. Do you understand why I'm laughing? Because I saw my neighbor fall off the roof. That snotty bum. Those two snotty bums on the left, they thought they owned the media. They thought they could keep me down. Thought they could keep me out. Well, look where they are now. They're in the gutter, and I'm still flying high. Now, tomorrow, I understand the way the world turns. I could be next. They could make it up. Even look at this guy in Congress. I forgot his name already. Conyers. How many years did I call him John Conyers? I had the nerve to call him John Conyer. C-O-N-yer. Because I knew he was a con man. I could see, the quieter they are and the more they play like dignified, the bigger the schmendrick they are underneath it. John Conyer, he was a con man from the get-go with that quiet delivery. Are you kidding me? Are you joking? You think I didn't read it on this guy? The quieter they are, the bigger the whatever they are. I like outspoken men like Trump. Because, if a guy is outspoken like that, usually you see what you get and you get what you see. It's those quiet ones that you got to watch out for. Right, Dad? They used to say that the conservative movement in America was based on the 3 Gs, God, guns, and gays. I don't know if it's still true. I think we should change that to what's current because I don't think anyone on the conservative side is that obsessed with gays anymore. So I would say it's God, gays, and sex toys. Why are all of these high-powered guys in the media sex obsessed? And behind all of that nice liberal front, what's lurking? Behind that nice guy, Matt Lauer, what's the other one whose name I forget? I don't know. Honest to God, I'm not trying to be sarcastic. Charlie Rose, the deacon of liberalism, gone with the wind. Behind that persona of Mr. Rogers, look what was behind it. These are the gatekeepers who wouldn't let me on the show ever. Remember, I am an icon in the American media, and don't ever forget it. I don't care what you think, what you don't think. I've been on the radio almost 25 years, okay, whatever the number of years is. And so over these years, that's almost a quarter of a century, all of these guys have listened to me. Oh, yeah, I heard of him. In their cars, their limos. Yeah, I heard of him, right. But he's not good enough for my show. Well, as Lin Yu Tang wrote in The Importance of Living, one of the great books in my life, happiness consists in getting your hair cut every 2 weeks and seeing your neighbor fall off the roof. Now, what he meant by that is seeing Matt Lauer fall off the roof, seeing Charlie Rose fall off the roof. We don't know what comes tomorrow. I could be the one that falls off the roof tomorrow. We don't know, but right now I'm enjoying it. I'm gloating. Even though I said don't gloat because I have a hangover, I'm going to gloat. Not a heavy hangover. I had 2 drinks. I shouldn't have had even 2. Middle of the week, I can't. But I'm cruising to Christmas. You know what I'm saying? I already feel jingle bells in my feet. I just feel it, the snow up in the Sierra. People are skiing already. I see Florida. I see the High Sierra. I just see it all. What am I doing here, killing myself? What a long year this has been. My God. 2017 of November, the 30th? Do you realize what we have been through together this year, in this year? The president was inaugurated. Let's start with that. I wrote and published Trump's War. Let's not forget that. And yes, it became #1 without Charlie Rose, without the Today Show, without Oprah, without Popra, without Hopra, without anyone. You made it #1. So we got the president inaugurated. The book became #1. Then I killed myself getting God, Faith, and Reason together. That's been out now a week and a half, 2 weeks. I don't know how long already. It's all a blur. Daily Show, normal strife, fighting the whole, the vicissitudes of existence every day. Like a turtle, we have to drag our bodies through it all. Every day we have to resist the Matt Lauer within us. You know who wrote about Matt Lauer, actually? It was George Orwell, one of my favorite authors, who wrote many, many decades ago, that within every man there is a man who wants to do good and do great things, and another man who wants to swill endless amounts of beer and cheat on his wife. And he said that's the eternal struggle in every man. George Orwell wrote that. And sometimes the bad part gets control of the good part. And the next thing you know is your neighbor's falling off the roof. What does a guy like Lauer do after this? He opens what? Lauer's Clam Shack in Boca Raton? Lauer's Lair on Federal Highway? What does he do now? Can he ever be rehabilitated? I don't know. What does he teach journalism in Alabama after this? He teaches a course in journalism in Roy Moore's district. God, that would be unbelievable. What does a guy like Charlie Rose do after the fall? After the fall, what does he do? Honestly. As I said to you, he goes in the same restaurants in Manhattan, and that table he always had waiting for him gone. I'm sorry, Mr. Rose. Oh, what is your name again? They actually insult him so gravely. The maitre d' that he's used to doesn't even greet him anymore. They send out a girl from NYU who doesn't even know who he is. And he says, I'm here. This is Charlie Rose. And she says, what's your name again? And he grimaces. Rose, R-O-S-E. Did you say R-O-Z? Rose? No, Charlie Rose. Where is Bill? I'm sorry, Bill is not in today. Well, sir, we don't have a table for you right now. Could you please wait about 15 or 20 minutes in the vestibule? We can send a cocktail waitress. So that's the first fall. Did you ever see that movie years ago with Jim Woods? One of my favorite movies called The Boost. That guy's a great actor, James Woods, and one of his great movies was called The Boost. Raise your hand if you know what I'm talking about. L.A., 60s, 70s, New York real estate guy, just married, lovely wife. I forget her name. She was a great actress. I don't know where she is today. He gets a job from his real estate. The guy who owns the company sends him out to L.A. to run the company out there during the boom of the real estate boom of that time. And slowly but surely gets sucked into the cocaine world to get that boost. And as the story emerges, they get hooked on coke and they lose one thing after the other. The tables are no longer waiting. They wind up in a CDSRO in Los Angeles. It's an astounding movie about the fall from grace. And so it happens in every generation, up and down. I want to read you one paragraph from my best-selling book, God, Faith, and Reason, which is in every bookstore in America, mainly the big chains. It's one page, Duality of Man. It's to do with sex. Page 235. I think a lot of mental problems come from repression. The people who repress their thoughts or ideas most strongly become crazier. The more you try to repress what you're feeling, the more disturbed you become, and the more violent you can become. So what am I saying? Why not do it in the road? Watch where I'm going with this. I didn't say do it in the road. Here's the whole trick. To recognize that you feel like doing it in the road, to recognize that you have lust, if that's the issue with you. I'm giving you one example, sex, because that's all that we think about in America night and day and night. Sex, 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 sex. Every newspaper you read, the eye goes to every moron on a yacht in the Caribbean doing an Instagram upside-down shot. Big deal. How many times can those bimbos stretch themselves on a rented boat to show us their bikinis? Get over it already. We all have a body. We've all seen it before. There are no ideas there. They're an example of the fallen man. It's sad for all those girls. They're like mental cases. What I'm saying to you is don't repress what you're thinking and feeling. Accept what you're thinking and feeling, but don't act on those feelings. I write this in Duality of Man and God, Faith and Reason. This last line. Don't repress what you're thinking and feeling. Accept what you're thinking and feeling. Accept what you're thinking and feeling, but don't act on what you're thinking and feeling if it's inappropriate. I learned a long time ago that the trick is to recognize that you have those feelings, but to refrain from acting on them. In one sentence, and I learned this in high school, the difference between a sane person and an insane person is not what he thinks, but what he does. Now, if we're arresting people for thought crimes today, we're in a whole new universe, aren't we?
Be right back.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage.
The Savage Nation is sponsored by Swiss America, the only company I trust with my financial future. Call 800-289-2646 or SwissAmerica.com. Is Kellyanne Conway qualified to be the opioid czar? I mean, so stupid. I never heard of anything like this. What is her background in drug treatment? I'd like to know. Or in science? I'd like to know. I don't know. Why is she now the opioid czar? They made her the opioid czar. They're saying there is no opioid czar. But she was made the opioid czar by the president. There's a solution to the opioid crisis. There's a couple of them. You want to hear one? I can save America a lot of money and a lot of the PR you're going to put out, Kellyanne. Let me make it real simple. The company that produces OxyContin is called Purdue Pharma LP. It's owned principally by descendants of Mortimer and Raymond Sackler, Kellyanne. And in 07, Kellyanne, you may not have studied this in 07. I don't know what you were doing then. This pharmaceutical company paid out one of the largest fines levied against the pharmaceutical firm for mislabeling its product, OxyContin. And Kellyanne, you should know that you can simply solve the opioid crisis on one leg. Let's say there's 3 legs to the crisis. Stand up to the Sackler family. But Kellyanne, they're earning $35 billion a year. I don't think that this Trump administration, or any other administration for that matter, has the power or the guts to stand up to a $35 billion privately held company. Do you? So I don't think we're going to see a solution to the opioid crisis at all, by the way. It's a topic, but you really want to talk about that? Should the makers of OxyContin be forced to, do something? What are they going to do? They own Congress, I think. Is Kellyanne Conway qualified to be the opioid czar? No. Absolutely. She's a pollster. She's a pollster. God bless her. Why is Attorney General Jeff Sessions saying she will oversee White House efforts to combat the opioid? How is she going to combat the opioid overdose epidemic? They're going to give her $12 million to do PR on it? More than 64,000 people died in the U.S. of drug overdoses in 2016, largely from opioids such as H, fentanyl, and prescription painkillers. Okay, so Trump declares a national public health emergency over the crisis in October, which he should. He campaigned in New Hampshire, remember? Well, what has he done? So everyone's saying they need an opioid czar. What do you need a czar for? You don't need a czar. Just bring in the people who sell the opioids, put them in prison. Let me put it to you this way. Let's do common math together. Are you listening to me? Common sense. I'm not the opioid czar, but I can add. Let's say there are calls for, I'm going to make up a number, 100 million prescriptions for OxyContin, 100 million a year. It's probably much higher. Legitimate. Doctors who say we need this painkiller and we need 100 million pills made a year. And they're making 1 billion pills. So where did the other 900 million pills go? Duh. There's the opioid czar. I just saved the government $12 million in a lot of waste of time. What are you kidding me? Stop the production of the pills. Ask the owners of the company why they're making 9 times the amount of pills, if that's the number, than the prescriptions call for. What, are you joking? New York City ratings in Savage, #1 in talk radio, flagship WABC 2554. Again, thank you. Yes, I did dare tell you that my New York City ratings are in, and on Savage's #1 in talk radio on the flagship WABC 25 to 54 audience. Again, thank you. Yes, thank you. No TV show, no co-promotion, all you. So, as you know, my new book, God, Faith, and Reason, came out. Without any help from the media except the Drudge Report, it became #11, which, by the way, for a book on God, it's a miracle, incidentally.